Peace and blessings to the family. Peace and blessings to the family. Welcome again to Muhammad Speaks News on YouTube. Please visit us on our website, www.muhammadspeaksnews.com. That's www.muhammadspeaksnews.com. You'll be able to see it at the top of the screen. Please subscribe to us on this channel, as well as paid subscription to our website at muhammadspeaksnews.com. We do have advertising opportunities on our website, as well as low as $25 a month. Please, if you're interested, please email us at muhammadspeaksnews@gmail.com. Salute and shout out to the family. And I wanted to go into today a subject that's about a week old with regards to our sister Sonya Massey, who was fatally shot in her Springfield, Illinois home this past summer on July 6th. So we see that the Justice Department has opened a civil rights investigation of the Illinois Sheriff's Office after the shooting of Sonya Massey. The Department of Justice Civil Rights Division has sent a letter to the Illinois Sangamon County Sheriff's Office 4 months after a deputy fatally shot Sonya Massey while responding to her call about a possible prowler outside the 36-year-old black woman's home. So what we just want to do real quickly, and this article is covered on Muhammad Speaks News. As you will find, we cover news for the black world, and we just want to bring a little more investigative depth to the article, as it is mostly informative, but we do want to just take a look into how the mechanisms and workings, when these things happen to our people, the processes that the local law enforcement, local judicial system, federal, state judicial system handles these things, to bring a little more awareness to the process, as well as to empower ourselves. That's what we do here at Muhammad Speaks, investigative journalism that we would like to bring forth to our people to serve the purpose of what a true and free press does through freedom of speech, empowerment of our people. We are Muhammad Speaks, news for the black world. So as you can see on the screen, we do have the official letter to the Sangamon County, Illinois Sheriff's Department, from the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, and we hope to get this up on the website to have another look. And playing in the background, we won't show it, the full thing, is the loop of the actual body camera incident of the shooting of our sister Sonya Massey. And we always have to follow these things through to the end, because what happens is when the news cycle tends to let go of these topics, we tend to forget about these people. We also see that there was a $100 million payout to the family of Botham Jean in the brother that was murdered in his apartment by the police officer there in Dallas, Texas. That was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but we do see that these things take years to process, and we have to have the endurance to stay with it in order to see how justice plays itself out, and the type of capacity and bandwidth that we have to have as a people to stay with it. It doesn't serve us well to go with the trend and stay with what's trending and what's hot at the moment, and then forget about it the minute that it's out of sight, and then we're only dusted off when a new incident happens. This sister reminds me so much of the sister Sandra Bland, and we should take a look into how that was being processed. Is that closed out? Did we receive justice? Does anybody know? So with that said, let's go into the letter from the Department of Justice. And this letter is dated November 14th, 2024. This is sent to Paula Crouch, the Sangamon County Sheriff, Sangamon County Sheriff's Office in Springfield, Illinois, regarding Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, Sangamon County, and Sangamon County Central Dispatch System. Dear Sheriff Crouch and Mrs. Mueller and Milheiser, this letter notifies you that the United States Department of Justice, through the Civil Rights Division's Federal Coordination and Compliance Section and Disability Rights Section, collectively DOJ, Department of Justice, has reviewed the information alleging that the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, SCSO, Sangamon County, and the Sangamon County Central Dispatch System, SCCDS, may be in violation of the discrimination requirements of the following statutes and implementing regulations. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and its implementing regulations. The Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act and its implementing regulations. Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act and implementing regulation. Title VI prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. Excuse me. The Safe Streets Act prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, religion, and sex in programs and activities receiving specified law enforcement assistance funds, is a recipient of federal financial assistance from the DOJ, including the Safe Streets Act funds. Under Title II, no qualified individual with a disability shall, by reason of such disability, be excluded from participation in or be denied the benefits of services programs or in activities of a public entity, or be subjected to discrimination by any such entity. Further, Title II prohibits failing to make reasonable modifications to policies, practices, or procedures necessary to avoid disability discrimination unless doing so would fundamentally alter the nature of the service, program, or activity. Title II applies to state and local governments and their agencies and departments, including Sangamon County, SCSO, and SCCDS. The Department of Justice has reviewed reports about the SCSO deputies' fatal shooting of Sonya Massey, a Black woman experiencing a mental health crisis. While responding to Ms. Massey's 911 call for help on July 6, 2024, the incident raises concerns about SCSO's interactions with Black people and people with behavioral health disabilities, as well as SCSO's policies, practices, procedures, and training regarding community policing. Bias-free policing, response to behavioral health crises, use of force, de-escalation, affirmative duty to intervene, affirmative duty to render medical aid, and body-worn camera, BWC, policies and compliance. Additionally, the incident prior and prior 911 calls involving Miss Massey in the days before her death indicate possible issues with Sangamon County SCSO and SCCDS's emergency response and dispatch system. Finally, DOJ has reviewed reports concerning SCSO's employment practices, including allegations that a lack of racial diversity at SCSO impacts SCSO's provision of policing services in communities of color. These allegations collectively raise concerns of race and discrimination prohibited by Title VI, the Safe Streets Act, and Title II. So basically, all of this information is calling out the potential violations by the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, as well as what specific codes that they have violated, and the possibility that the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office does receive federal assistance. That if the sheriff's office of Sangamon County is found to be in violation of these codes, then that could be a threat to their federal assistance. So if a condition is, and I'm just a layman here, I'm not someone who's legally trained, just someone who is reading and using logic. It would sound like it would make sense to ensure that these law enforcement departments are completely compliant with federal law in every way before the funding is taking place. This seems a little bit reactive to an incident, and it seems like, and I could be wrong, that these law enforcement agencies just receive funding and are not checked or not confirmed to be compliant with certain federal statutes uh, before the money is given to them. It doesn't seem like they're even routinely inspected or investigated to ensure that they remain compliant until these incidents happen. Is that a mistake? We don't know. As a recipient of federal financial assistance from DOJ, SCSO must provide access to information that can be used to determine whether it is complying with applicable non-discrimination requirements. Failure to provide access to information necessary to determine compliance could result in the suspension or termination of the federal financial assistance or a civil suit to enforce the rights of the United States. Title VI Safe Streets Act and their applicable implementing regulations provide opportunities to resolve identified concerns through voluntary compliance prior to engaging in suspension and or termination of federal financial assistance or further proceedings to enforce the rights of the United States for violations of Title VI and the Safe Streets Act. So that was part of my concern from the previous section, where now, as a reaction, the DOJ is going after this police department after having received financial funding for God knows how long. And this is totally reactive, and who knows how many of these these law enforcement agencies are receiving funding, and this has been caught on tape. But what about those people that have suffered? And really, the United States can be seen as liable for the deaths of countless Black people because these law enforcement agencies are receiving direct funding from the United States government. So the United States government essentially has a hand in the murder of this woman. Just my reasoning, not saying that that's what it is. Regardless of whether public entities receive federal funds, Title II authorizes DOJ to investigate complaints of disability discrimination. Informally resolve investigations where appropriate, make findings of fact and conclusions of law where a violation is found and resolution is not achieved, and attempt to negotiate voluntary resolutions for finding violations. DOJ also is authorized to take appropriate action, including filing of action in federal district court to enforce the ADA if voluntary compliance is not achieved after findings. So is it that the DOJ has to sue to cut off funding from federal law enforcement agencies? What if they lose? I'm not sure what the process is. Maybe someone can fill me in on that. We're just reading the letter from the DOJ Civil Rights Division to the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office of Springfield, Illinois, where Sonya Massey, the law enforcement agency responsible for the murder of our innocent sister, Sonya Massey. We understand that a federal prosecution of former Deputy Sean Grayson is ongoing. Our investigation is not intended to interfere or conflict with that prosecution. If you think any of the information requested in this letter would compromise that prosecution, let us know. That's very considerate of the DOJ to do. Initial information request and next steps. So this is what the DOJ is like. We would like you to send this to us before Christmas. To further facilitate our investigation of this matter, please provide the following documents and information by December 14, 2024, 30 days, before we go on Christmas break. Please preserve all relevant or related documents and information. We ask that you contact us within 10 days of the date of this letter or by November 25th to discuss the production format of responsive documents and electronically stored information. 1. The name, address, telephone number, email addresses of the individuals to whom this office should direct any future questions and correspondence. Please indicate if they have authority to negotiate a settlement of this matter. Organizational charts for the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, Sangamon County SCCDS, reflecting their structures and change of commands at all times from January 1st, 2020 to the present. The name, address, telephone number, and email address for ADA coordinators for SCSO, Sangamon County, SCCDS, if any. A copy of all documents related to Sonya Massey. Please include all phone logs, all dispatch records, all transcripts and recordings of 911 calls seeking help for Sonya Massey, all transcripts, recordings, and other documents related to the dispatch of officers or personnel to respond to 911 calls for assistance for Sonya Massey. A list of all SCSO deputies or other personnel in the scene responding to any calls, 911 or otherwise, related to Miss Massey, including the deputy who responded on July 6, 2024, together with Deputy Grayson, provide each individual's position and rank, as well as the bureau, division, and or unit to which the individual was assigned, and F, copies of all reports related to Sonya Massey, and in any instance where a report was not completed, provide applicable dates and locations to which SCSO or any type of responder that SCCDS can dispatch responded. So I guess SCCDS is their emergency, it's the police, fire department, their 911 number, I lost my cat, or there's a rabid dog in the neighborhood. So I guess that's where the dispatch goes out for Sangamon County. And also, one thing I wanted to bring to light here is that this wasn't even the first call. So this seems to be an ongoing issue, and the police came with some type of prejudice to that house. Maybe it was an ongoing joke among the officers that this woman, constantly calls us, and they just came with that attitude. And I'm not going to play the video here, but the condescending manner in which there was some familiarity, it appears to me that the police approached the house and engaged our sister Sonya Massey, and then as a result, it just escalated or disintegrated, however you want to look at it, into the senseless murder. I mean, a hot pot of water. How many times have we been threatened with something that's non-fatal and had the option of having a response that could result in that person dying? However, it just appears that there was some, you know, predetermined attitude, if that's the right word, to engage with this sister, and this is something that has ongoing. And it'd be good to see if these probably reports have been made public, and hopefully this is something we can track here at Muhammad Speaks News. For those that are subsequently watching this downstream, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and salute to everyone who is watching this video. We are reading the DOJ's letter to Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, which was the sheriff's office that was responsible for the death of Sonya Massey. All dash camera and BWC footage related to the events listed in response to request number 4. For the period January 20th to the present, identify whether SCSO has provided or currently provides any form of alternative response models when responding to behavioral health crises or interacting with someone with a behavioral health disability, such as co-responder teams, mobile crisis teams, or crisis intervention training programs. Provide a description of each form of alternative response and all related policies. These types of responses, when there's incidents of racism in these killings, we always have to look for legalese or the most appropriate terms that discuss everything other than racism. What I mean is they have to really needle in and drill down on the behavioral health crises as something that will stick in this investigation to show that the police were wrong in this woman's death. When, of course, this is the Civil Rights Division, so they have to go within the letter of the law. And because the legalese, the terms that would help prosecute something, and I know lawyers will watch this and be snickering because it doesn't sound like I know what I'm talking about. But with that said, I'm just saying that they have to use the peripheral terms, the peripheral violations, as opposed to what it actually is, right? Because in America, they make racism policies so ambiguous that it's hard for them to stick. I mean, what should be called out in this is pure racism, right? But of course, when you use civil rights to approach and engage these matters, these are going to be the outcomes. Because racism is so ambiguous, is so slippery that you can't pin it down, you can't nail it down, unless you're looking at something within the scope of an entire people. And that this is the human rights issue. And when you look at the collective of the people, then you can say, well, we've seen this thing play out thousands of times in the history of the United States, so racism can be called in this issue. But when you use civil rights and when you use, and you're in a context of the United States of America, they're going to make sure that they're not held liable internationally. And this is not looked at as a human rights violation, but it's just a violation of a person's, the response to a person's disability. Anyway, continue. So the bias, for the most part, that's going to be called out here is the bias based on the fact that this was a person that was having a mental health crisis. For the period January 1st, 2020, just number 7. This is still the request. I'm getting annoyed. This is a request from the DOJ to the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office. This is number 7. This is an entire laundry list of things that they're requesting. It's like a request for proposal, RFP. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, all SCSO policies, procedures, rules, guidelines, standards of practice, and related documents that address A. Community policing, B. Bias-free policing, C. Interacting with people with disabilities, D. Response to behavioral health crises, E. Use of force, F. De-escalation, G. Affirmative duty to intervene, H. Affirmative duty to render medical aid, and I. BWCs. Include all versions in effect during any part of the relevant time period. A. For the period January 1st, 2020 to present, a description of all SEO trainings on community policing, B. Bias-free policing, C. Interacting with people with disabilities, D. Response to behavioral health crises, E. Use of force, F. De-escalation, G. Affirmative duty to intervene, H. Affirmative duty to render medical aid, and I. BWCs. Include the method of delivery of training, the identity of the trainer, the frequency of delivery, and any related training materials. 9. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, identify all codes SCCDS uses to categorize calls, including all codes that can be assigned to call involving a behavioral health crisis or person with behavioral health disability. For the period January 1st, 2020, this is number 10, to present, identify all possible responders SCCDS can dispatch to call related to behavioral health crises or someone with a behavioral health disability. 11. For the period January 1st, 2020 to present, identify all SCCDS policies, procedures, rules, guidelines, standards of practice, and related documents to addressing identifying calls involving someone with a behavioral health disability, responding to calls involving behavioral health crises, and interacting with someone with a behavioral health disability. 12. For the period January 1st, 2020 to present, and the description of all SCCDS training on interacting with people with disabilities and handling calls involving behavioral health crises. Include the method of delivery of training, the identity of the trainer who has been trained, when the training took place, the frequency of delivery, and any related training materials. 13. A copy of all training records for SCSO Deputy Sean Grayson, who is the officer that fired the shots on Sonya Massey, that's me talking, and the other SCSO Deputy who responded to Miss Massey's 911 call on July 6, 2024. Include the dates of training, the method of delivery of the training, and the associated training materials. 14. Provide the names of all individuals involved in developing, coordinating, and implementing, administering, or participating in SCSO's deputy recruitment and selection processes, including individuals administering any psychometric exams, the dates they were involved in the recruitment or selection process, the positions they held when they were involved in the recruitment or selection processes, and whether they were currently employed by SCSO or Sangamon County if they were not currently employed by SCSO or Sangamon County. This is a laundry list, right? On one incident where they will spend time. Again, this is particularly why we should pursue reparations as a collective, because these types of things, these letters are flying around, white papers are flying around for tens of hundreds of thousands of black people that have been violated all over the country on a daily basis. Now, it's just going to take them a month to compile all of this information. They're going to have all types of, what do they call it, water fountain water cooler conversations. Well, then they're going to, a lot of fudging of information. Of course, we have these discrimination trainings and all of that, or they're going to rush to have discrimination trainings and all of that, or they're going to go back to the actual the actual manual that enables them to have this federal assistance, and maybe the federal government requires them to have these trainings one time in a year, so they'll fulfill the one training and they'll pull the training from somewhere else to ensure, and then when it's found out there are gaps in the discrimination training, they'll just get a, well, you get a slap on the wrist. Maybe we'll cut some of the funding, but we see that you had it one time. You see how you just get bogged down in nothingness types of responses here. Again, this is a whole RFP will bog an entire department down. Civil Rights Division, I'm sure they're well staffed, but seriously and honestly, not to take away anything from what happened to the sister, it is tragic. And in order for us to prevent this from happening, it is imperative that we pursue reparations collectively, that we pursue self-determination vigorously, that we separate from these people, because they will just bog you down in nothingness, and you will get hope that something will happen. Everyone is excited that the DOJ is pursuing this, and this seems to be about nothing. But I ain't finished. Let's see where this goes. For the period January 1st, excuse the kids, they're outside, they're having a ball. So, the children of my neighborhood. So, excuse if you hear them in the background. 15. For the period January 1st, 2020 to present, a description of SCSO's hiring processes for deputies, including recruitment, background check, psychometric evaluation, reference, and selection processes. 16. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, and a description of SCSO's hiring processes for lateral transfers for deputies, including recruitment, background check, and psychometric evaluation, references, and selection processes. 17. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, all SCSO policies, procedures, rules, guidelines, standards of practice, and related documents that address SCSO's hiring of deputies, including recruitment, background check, reference, and selection processes. For the number 18. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, a list of all candidates for SCSO deputy positions. For each candidate, please provide the following information. Lord have mercy. More of doing too much. So, okay, let's go down this list here. For each candidate, please provide the following information: race and or ethnicity, sex, date of application, if hired, date of hire, if disqualified, date of and reason for disqualification, F, whether the candidate had prior law enforcement experience, whether the candidate was a lateral hire, and whether the candidate has any family members currently or previously employed by SCSO. I'm trying to see if disqualified, data disqualified. So they're just trying to see here if they have equitable hiring practices, and I suspect that if they are in violation of any of these inequitable hiring practices, they will just have a big rollout. Oh, we have come to Jesus, we have changed in the name of God, and now we have equitable hiring practices. Look, they'll probably do like Dallas and Memphis and hire a black woman police, not knocking a black woman sheriff. I think there's a woman in the position now, so I think they already tried to scramble. I have to see whether or not she's black on that. 19. A complete copy of the post-selection personnel and internal affairs files of Deputy Grayson and the other deputy who responded to Sonya Massey's home on July 6, 2024, including any complaints and investigation-related information related to these deputies. 20. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, all SCSO traffic and pedestrian stop data disaggregated by race. So this is, again, Civil Rights Division, classic civil rights. So do you do stop and frisk? Do you do profiling, racial profiling, all that? And again, the outcome will just be a slap on the wrist, a big rollout, and a Juneteenth celebration. 21. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, all SCSO use of boards data disaggregated by race, which they probably maybe do. It'd be good. It'd be interesting to see how they track that. 22. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, all SCSO dispatch logs, including date time of the call for service, description, location, and SCSO response time. So I don't know if this disaggregated data is required as on a condition that they receive it. That would be I'd have to check into, what the funding requirements are. For each calendar year, starting with 2020, state how many 911 calls SCCDS received, and the 911 calls received state how many. A. Sought for help experiencing a possible behavioral health crisis. B. Included information that the person for whom help was sought was a behavioral health disability. 24. For the calls identified in response to request number 23, please identify how many of those calls resulted in a response from SCSO and how many of those calls resulted in a response from each of the other types of responders that SCCDS can dispatch. 25. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, a description of SCSO's processes for SCSO personnel and members of the public to file formal or informal complaints alleging discrimination by SCSO deputies or other personnel. Please include a copy of any complaint forms, procedures, policies, notices, and any other documents related to the process. That's page 6. This was a long letter. And now there are 28 list of demands, mostly based on disability. However, no human rights violations indications here. This is just disability, even though disability does fall within human rights. Our claim as Black people is totally different. 26. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, all written complaints, reports related to discrimination based on race, ethnicity, nation, national origin, or disability made to SCSO, please include a description of how the complaint or report was addressed or investigated, and any resolution, and provide all related documents and all dash camera. That could be good. And BWC footage related to the police interaction or incident underlying the complaint. So let's see where they get hours of dash camera. I don't know how these people handle that, but certainly they'll probably just get, an officer made a pass at me, a couple, but I don't think that these people track racial complaints very well at all. We just have seen it in our experience, and that's why people get very angry and frustrated, because you try to work within the system and you just come up with nonsense, and they're just be angry. For the period January 1st, 2020 to the present, and all written complaints or reports related to discrimination based on race, ethnicity, origin, or disability to SCCDS, please include a description of how the complaint or report was addressed or investigated and any resolution, and provide all related documents related to the call or incident underlying the complaint. 28. Any other information you would like to transfer to DOJ to consider. That's, That could be, letter, I don't know what that could be, in terms of, well, all right, can I get the local NAACP chapter to say we're good, for them to consider that they're good? Who knows? Good or bad, it could be. This letter addresses only the matters discussed and does not cover any other issues regarding compliance with Title VI, the Safe Streets Act, the ADA, and other federal laws. Under the Freedom of Information Act, DOJ may be required to release information and related correspondence and records shared by recipients and complainants upon request. If we receive the Freedom of Information Act request, we will seek to protect, to the extent provided by law, information that is subject to applicable FOIA exemption, including personal information that, if released, could constitute an unwarranted invasion of privacy. Title VI, the Safe Streets Act, the ADA also prohibit retaliation under Title VI. This includes any action to intimidate, threaten, coerce, or discriminate against any individual for the purpose of interfering with any right or privilege under Title VI. The ADA similarly prohibits retaliation against anyone who exercises their rights under the ADA or participates in an ADA investigation. Individuals who believe that they have been the target of retaliation may file a complaint with the DOJ. What's a complaint? So I'm not going to read the names of the fine people there at the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ. You may be able to see it on the screen. I'm grateful that they have moved forward to do so. And I know when you're in the context of civil rights, and it's funny how the civil rights movement as a whole, and I don't know if anyone has done the study of this or had some type of editorial on, the contradiction that the civil rights was once anti-establishment, and now there's a civil rights division in the Department of Justice, when historically the Department of Justice have not only violated the civil rights of Black people in America, Afro descendants, but more so the human rights. And now it's kind of subsumed into this Department of Justice, the very Department of Justice that has not protected Black people. But fine, okay, there's a Civil Rights Division. Cool. Thank you for your contribution. However, my appeal and our appeal here at Muhammad Speaks is for us to fight for human rights on behalf of all of our people internationally, because as we can see, we are failed by the system. And here is the police footage. I'm not going to keep it there the whole time, but just, if you could hear, I'm not going to play the sound, but if you can hear what's happened, one of the most dehumanizing things about interaction with police is the way that when they, I'm not even going to say that I'm a grown man. It's not even about I'm an adult. And when you have someone that is talking to you I'm an adult who does adult things, right? Responsible adult things for the most part. At least I try. When you have someone that's talking to you like a child, when you are not in the act of committing a crime, as they have done with our sister, it irks me to hear them talk to someone like that. Because I know how they would talk to me, and I'm like, I've done nothing wrong. Or why are you even talking like that? And it's almost like to incite someone to do wrong or react negatively so they can feel like they are justified in doing harm. And these are the types of things that the Civil Rights Division at the DOJ can't weave into a letter to the Sheriff's Department. They can't weave it into a letter to any law enforcement agency. So these are the frustrating things that we have to deal with on an ongoing basis, and our fight collectively is for reparations. So with that said, I don't want this to go in any further because it can make you emotional. And it's like, this is what will happen to you, my brothers and sisters. They're just going to send a letter and they're just going to get slapped on the wrist. Maybe like Bolton Jean's family, you get a payout. And that's, if you're okay with that, that's fine. But we're just bringing you the facts here. And the facts are we need reparations. So salute to the family. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Please consider subscribing to MohammedSpeaksNews.com. $2 a month, $5 a month premium tier, and then you get a free month if you pay for the entire year one time. So 2 times 20, 2 times 12, 24. If you pay for the entire year one time, it's only $22. If you, for the premium plan, which is $5 a month, 5 times 12 is 60. If you pay for the entire year one time for the premium plan, you will only have to pay $55. So please support Black journalism. Please empower us to be able to bring more things like more commentary like this to you. Go check out the website. We have covered this article, and I will look forward to trying to upload the letter to the website so you can look for yourself. And salute to the family. Love you all. Stay safe out there. Peace.